Throughout human history, people have always been interested in trading one thing of value for another. A basic system of exchange, called barter, has probably existed for as long as the human race itself. Farmers would trade what they had in abundance, for example, wheat, rice, or corn, for something else they were lacking. The metalsmith would trade his skills and products for what the farmer had. Specialization of skills developed as societies evolved, and this specialization made people more dependent on others for things they could not easily produce themselves. As societies became larger and more sophisticated, and as trade areas widened to include other cultures, the limitations of barter became evident. Money developed as a universal medium of exchange. With money, it is not necessary to have some specific product that the other person wants. Money itself can be traded in exchange for any product or service. The use of money accelerates economic activity and allows a society and an economy to grow far beyond the limitations of a barter system. So we can say that money moves beyond or transcends the barter system. The alternative non-money economic system we will now examine, called universal economics, transcends the money system the way money transcended the barter system thousands of years ago. Universal economics represents the next step in human social and economic evolution. What is universal economics? Universal economics, called UnEc for short, is a non-money system which combines the efficiency of a market economy with a strong philosophy of social responsibility. UnEc was first developed in 1947 by philosopher Addison Brown in a rudimentary form as prior choice economics. UnEc is not simply cashless in the sense of electronic funds transfer, which is already being used today as a replacement for tangible paper money, for example in a debit card purchase, but is a totally new way of looking at economic transactions. To implement UnEc, a large central computer must connect and record all economic activity. No anonymous transactions can take place. People would still be free to barter among themselves outside of the UnEc system if they wanted to, or even to create their own local currency or medium of exchange. However, there would be little advantage to this, as the UnEc economy would easily be providing everything desired in great abundance. To implement UnEc, a large central computer must connect and record all economic activity. The UnEc computer contains 3 databases: the reward list, the points list, and the goods services list. Let's look at these lists in detail. The structure of the reward list would be decided democratically by Congress, according to the needs and wants of society. Those occupations we consider most important are placed at the highest positions on the list. They will receive the greatest number of UnEc points per time unit or piece unit of work performed. For example, we see that the President and Congress are placed high on the list, even above business managers and CEOs of large companies. This is the opposite of the situation today, where corporate CEOs earn many times more than any government official. But UnEc allows us to create an incentive reward structure that makes the most sense for the health of society in general and benefits the greatest number of people, not just a wealthy elite group. Other important professions that are currently often considered underpaid, such as school teachers, could also be moved higher up on the reward list. Obviously, there are many thousands of occupations in our modern economy. Over 12,000 are listed in the U.S. government publication Dictionary of Occupational Titles. So the reward list would be thousands of occupations long, and what we see here just represents a sampling of that actual list. The points list simply records the total number of UnEc points earned by each individual in society. This is cumulative throughout one's lifetime. Here we have a sample points list with 4 economic participants: Karen, John, Alice, and George. Karen is at the top of the list because she has earned the most points in her lifetime, here shown as 1 million. John is next on the list with 800,000 points. Then Alice with 400,000 points. And George at the bottom with no points earned so far. George could be a young man still going to school who hasn't worked, or he could be an adult who hasn't found a profession yet that he enjoys. The UnEc points do not represent a credit-debit accounting system. This is very important. The UnEc points are never spent. They are never subtracted. The purpose of earning points is simply to create a queue, an ordered list of all economic participants. This places every citizen on the points list in relation to every other citizen, telling you who is above and who below. On the basis of this queue, products and services are distributed to consumers driven by demand. Put simply, those at the top of the list get first pick of what goods and services are available. The goods services list represents the total inventory of all products and services that exist in the economy at any moment in time. This is, in essence, a snapshot of what is available for distribution to consumers on any particular day. Obviously, in a large economy, this would be many millions of items. In this sample goods services list, we have only a few items listed for simplicity of explanation. For example, we see that there are currently 4 houses available, 2 luxury cars, 3 standard cars, 5 microwave ovens, 1 luxury yacht, and 5 bags of food. These items are listed from top to bottom, with the scarce luxury items at the top of the list and the plentiful items at the bottom. The scarce items at the top of the goods services list will tend to be those new products at the very cutting edge of manufacturing and technology, luxury homes in desirable neighborhoods, and rare antiques and one-of-a-kind works of art. Now let's examine how these 3 lists work together and how products are distributed to the consumer. Here is a simplified sample representation of our economy, with a few products and 4 economic participants. Again, Karen, John, Alice, and George. The circle in the middle holds the items on our goods services list. These are the real products that exist on a particular day, ready to be distributed to consumers, our snapshot of what is currently available. We see the yacht, luxury cars, standard cars, houses, microwave ovens, and food. Yesterday, this inventory was different, and tomorrow it may be different in 1 or more items. Of course, as products are distributed to consumers, more of those products are being made by those occupations on the reward list who want to earn more points for themselves. Now let's imagine that Karen goes to the grocery store. How does this transaction occur? The important difference between UnEc points and money is that the points are never spent, they are never subtracted. Again, the UnEc points do not represent a credit-debit accounting system. Goods and services are simply given away to consumers without asking anything in exchange. When Karen goes to the grocery store, she selects what she wants and takes it to the checkout, as we do today at any supermarket. The items are scanned and the store receives their points for providing that service to the consumer. Then Karen walks out with her items. Remember, the supermarket's points are based on the structure of the reward list, which specifies how many points are earned for that occupation. Now look at the goods services inventory. We see that one bag of groceries is leaving the inventory and has become Karen's personal property. There are 4 bags left. Next, John comes into the store. He selects a bag of groceries and takes it to checkout. The supermarket receives their points for providing this service to him. Look again at the goods services inventory. One bag is leaving the inventory and has become John's personal property. Now 3 bags of groceries are left. Later, Alice and George are shopping, and each selects a bag, leaving 1 bag of groceries remaining. Since we have no other economic participants in this sample economy, we have a surplus of groceries in the inventory. And tomorrow, the inventory will be replenished by those occupations on the reward list who are working to earn more points for themselves. The principle is the same for most of the other items on the goods services list. Each citizen can get a house, because there are 4 houses in the inventory, enough for everybody in the economy. Each can get a microwave oven. Notice that even though George has earned no points at all, he is still able to get most of what he wants and needs to live. So this is a built-in safety net for all citizens. But if goods and services are simply given away, what is the advantage of earning points? Generally speaking, most consumers will be able to get whatever they want, whenever they want it, no matter how many points they have earned in their life. The only time we need to use the points list ranking is when the demand for a certain product or service temporarily exceeds the supply, or if the consumer is interested in a scarce or one-of-a-kind item. For example, we have 1 luxury yacht available. Who is going to get it? Karen gets first pick of this item because she is at the top of the points list, so it will go to her. But let's say that Karen is not interested in sailing, or that she lives too far from a suitable body of water, so she passes on it. The next person on the list, John, gets an opportunity to select the yacht. But maybe John is scared of the water. If he passes, then Alice may get the yacht. Or it is even possible, but very unlikely, that George could get the yacht, even though he has not worked a day in his life. Of course, in the real world there would be thousands of items on the goods services list that Karen or any consumer would not be interested in or even aware of. Many items would not be of interest to a particular consumer, so those items are essentially invisible to that person. Karen, for example, may have no interest at all in sailing, so she's not shopping for a yacht, not even thinking about boats at all. She doesn't have to turn down the yacht before John gets a chance to select it. All she has to do is ignore it. So like any market economy, this is driven by demand. The first consumer who wants the yacht can get it, although there may be a short waiting period of a few days to give everybody a fair chance at such a scarce item. Needless to say, once the yacht is selected by a consumer, those occupations on the reward list who build yachts are rushing to build more, so they can earn more points for themselves. Clearly, a scarce luxury item today can easily become the plentiful item of tomorrow if the consumer demand is great enough. More and more people will produce that item, and eventually everyone will be able to get it. But what happens if people become lazy and nobody wants to do any work at all? If fewer people are working, then there will be fewer goods and services available to consumers. So there will be shortages of even common, easily produced items like food and clothing. This won't be much of a problem for Karen, because she is at the top of the points list and gets first pick of whatever is available. But when John goes to the supermarket, or Alice, they may discover that their favorite items are no longer available. They may discover that they are on a waiting list for that new plasma TV they wanted, and the wait could be many months. So what do? They decide to work more so they can earn more points and move up on the points list, thus getting easier, quicker access to the products they desire. As citizens increase the hours they work, more goods and services are produced, and shortages never occur. So the system is self-correcting. And as our technology develops, with increasing automation in the production of goods and the delivery of services, people will be able to work less and receive more. Economic desperation is greatly reduced, if not eradicated. Basic food, clothing, housing, healthcare, and education are all easily provided to 100% of the population. Social problems created by economic factors are virtually eliminated, resulting in a much healthier, saner society and a greatly reduced crime rate. A great debate in economic history and theory revolves around the differences between free market economies, with private ownership of the means of production in a competitive system, and the command economy, wherein the means of production are publicly owned and economic activity is controlled by a central governmental authority. Universal economics has private ownership of the means of production and is essentially market-driven, consumer-driven, in a competitive framework. As consumers select certain goods and services, more of those goods and services are produced by people who want to earn more points for themselves. Highest quality products are produced because the consumer will tend to choose only the best products offered. Why would anyone select a shoddy product when there is a superior product sitting right next to it? Those who produce superior products will capture the market. Those who produce inferior products will tend to lose market share. The inferior producers won't be able to distribute their products because nobody will select them. They will eventually go out of business. Those who go out of business, however, won't lose their standard of living, at least not in the near term. Their accumulated points will still allow them to select just about any goods and services they want. They won't be able to move up any higher on the points list, though, until they can succeed at a different line of work that they do well. And the longer they wait, the more people will be passing them on the points list. If a worker doesn't perform well in a certain job or is unhappy there, he can easily go on to a different type of work or return to school for more training. People aren't forced to stay in a difficult situation or protect outmoded and inefficient jobs just to pay the bills. If we find that workers are not performing well in a certain important occupation, we can move that occupation higher up on the reward list, thus attracting a greater pool of trained, talented people. Universal economics can easily reward those occupations that we know are important, such as school teachers, that are currently considered to be underpaid. UnEc is essentially a market economy. It has an aspect of central planning, in that Congress is ultimately responsible for structuring the reward list and for overall regulation and environmental standards. If complaints regarding the structure of the reward list are sufficiently conspicuous, more public input can be brought to bear, up to and including a national referendum if necessary. Lobbying activities could be allowed, with representatives of different professions trying to make the case for the importance of their occupation over another. This is the normal give and take of a democratic system. Since UnEc has no money, that powerful, corrupting element is eliminated from the political dynamic. We ensure the smooth working of the system by placing Congress at a high level on the reward list, thus attracting the most capable and talented people to the job. UnEc has no taxation of any form. The federal, state, and local governments simply select what they need to operate from the marketplace, like any other consumer. Under universal economics, the size of government will drastically shrink. Most of what people require will be supplied easily by the marketplace, and there will be little need for government social services. At a high level of the reward list should probably be those occupations responsible for designing and maintaining the UnEc computer system and telecommunications network. Needless to say, the security of the system is of paramount importance. We want these system and network administrators to be amply rewarded for ensuring this. Every member of the economy will carry a UnEc magnetic card, functioning as ID and as a tally of accumulated points. The central computer system will, of course, have this information, as will a series of backup computers to make the entire system as fail-safe as possible. The possibility of electronic forgery will always exist, but should be small. Since those who administer the computer system will be among the most highly rewarded in the society, they will have little motive to attempt any criminal activity. Running a business within the UnEc system does not have profit as a factor. Every commodity, every product, and every service already has a set value based on the structure of the reward list. Gold, for example, may be more difficult to find and mine than copper, selling for thousands of times as much in the money economy. But if we decide to reward copper producers more than gold producers, then the inherent amount of extra labor involved in gold mining will have no value in the UnEc economy. Gold will still be produced, but not as aggressively as within the money economy. If we immediately need more gold because a certain product that uses it comes into demand, then we can move gold mining higher on the reward list. It is dependent on what society wants to do. Starting and running a business within the UnEc system would be quite similar to doing so in any market economy. Karen's manufacturing company merely asks for the raw materials she needs to produce a product. Alice, who distributes the raw materials from her warehouse facility, earns her points with this transaction. Karen earns her points when the finished product is sent to the retailer. The retailer earns his points when the consumer actually selects the product. Then it becomes the personal property of the customer. As the manufacturer distributes products, she can request more raw materials for the production of more products. As the retailer distributes products to the consumer, he can request inventory resupply from the manufacturer. All of these transactions are strictly private agreements between business people, driven by market forces. The structure of the reward list sets the playing field, and the business people operate within its bounds according to consumer demand. Many problems are created in the money economy because business is always trying to maximize profits. For example, a factory may generate a toxic chemical as it makes a product. It is cheaper to dump that toxic chemical into the local river than it is to collect and store the chemical or break it down into harmless components. Government attempts environmental regulation in such cases, but it is a constant battle of enforcement, with companies trying to cheat and powerful corporations trying to change legislation to much lower environmental standards. The UnEc economy has none of these problems because there is no concept of profit, no concern with cost-effective measures. We can easily build in the most stringent environmental considerations. UnEc would make any waste illegal, so producing goods and just storing them somewhere, or dumping them without distributing them to consumers, could be a criminal offense. Of course, any waste picked up in this way could be recycled back into the economy to others who are producing things that consumers want. In the worst-case scenario, as punishment for a serious crime of waste, we could subtract points from the perpetrator's account as a kind of fine. Or individuals could be awarded extra points as the settlement in a successful lawsuit, for example. The dynamics of the economy will be a function of how we structure the reward list, something that is completely under our own control as a democratic society. We can bring whatever resources necessary, human and material, to bear upon the object of our will. We can have great system redundancy for purposes of health, safety, and security. Converting over to universal economics from our present money economy will be a big project, to be sure, but feasible. The computer telecommunications infrastructure already exists. Banks and credit card companies want to move toward a cashless economy anyway, where EFT, electronic funds transfer, will replace paper money and checks. In the cashless economy that is currently developing, electronic impulses are becoming the new manifestation of money. But it is important to understand that regardless of the technology, the cashless economy of electronic funds transfer still uses money, but just in a different form. That is to say, electronic funds transfer still constitutes a credit-debit accounting system. You get some and you spend some, and then you have to get some more before you can spend again. So money and the cost of money, that is, interest, is still the biggest bottleneck to economic growth and prosperity for all. As our EFT technology develops, it is unnecessary to continue to rely on a tool invented thousands of years ago, that is, money. With understanding and technology, we can move beyond the instrument known as money, with numerous consequent benefits. In order to convert to universal economics, we would first need to calculate the current net worth of each member of the economy. In this example, Karen's net worth includes her house, stocks, bonds, and some savings. These total to $1 million, which is her net worth in the money economy. Then we convert that dollar amount for each individual into an equal number of UnEc points. This positions everyone on the points list. We can start with a reward list based on the current level of pay for each occupation and worry about fine-tuning it later. The contemporary computer networks used by the banking and retail industries can be adapted to the universal economic system and upgraded with relatively little problem. As soon as all of these components are in place, we can begin operating within the new system. The massive public and private debt, which is strangling our contemporary money economy, would instantly evaporate upon implementation of universal economics. All outstanding debt would be considered assets of the debt holders and would be added to their UnEc points account, positioning them higher on the points list. With the growth of the global economy, much debt is held by other countries. For example, United States debt is held by Japan, China, Great Britain, and other nations. It would be most effective if all of these countries could implement universal economics at the same time. Though a difficult goal, it would represent just continued evolution of economic globalization forces already in motion, but this time for the maximum benefit of all. It could also be possible for one country, such as the United States, to convert to UnEc on its own, and then deal with international debt in another way. For example, shipping an equivalent value of goods and services to the debt-holding countries over time. We could finance the implementation of universal economics as we make the transition from the money economy by selling UnEc zero-coupon bonds. These bonds could be set at a very attractive rate of return, and like any zero-coupon bond, there would be no periodic interest payments for the government to worry about. Upon implementation of UnEc, the face value of the bonds would be added to the points list account of each bond owner, positioning them higher on the points list. Thus, it would cost the government nothing to implement UnEc, and the crushing problem of the national debt and private debt would be solved as a side benefit. It is no exaggeration to state that universal economics has the potential to solve probably 90% of our economic and social problems.